It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems, that things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you, and thank you for being here. Shout out to, I see Warren is in the building, Greg is here, and Leonardus I trust says, hey, in the female sounding Fat Albert voice. I don't even know how to do that, but that is hilariously funny. The lady of the building is here, Brew Bones. We got Rick is in the building. What's up, Rick? And Soul Construct. So without further ado, I'm not gonna waste too much time and get straight into it. Because I'm sure as people filter in, there's a lot of stuff that we can go over, and I'm sure that there'll be questions thrown my way. And I guess, wait a minute, let me just slow down just a little bit. First 2 minutes, and I haven't really even said what's up to anybody and haven't got going. But of course, let me announce out the topics, things that I want to go into. What's up, Yonina? Yonina's in the building. My apologies, Yonina. I have stuff boxed up to send to you. I just keep forgetting to send it. So my apologies. My apologies. I will get that out this week. Couple of topics I want to get into. The MAGA split over Epstein. And I wonder, how deep is this split? How much will it fester? We'll see, because I got a lot of thoughts and theories on that. The tariffs. We'll talk a little bit about tariffs and things like that. And I guess we're probably going to go a little bit more into Trump's new bill that's been passed, because it's going to affect plenty of things. And one thing about this bill that is different than other bills is the way some of this stuff is set. I don't think I've read too many bills where you see plenty of things that are put in almost like retroactively. So it's like some of these things are set to go into effect as of like last year, which is weird. I don't know how you can set a bill to go into effect for previous years and stuff. So some of this stuff is all the way up to like January 2025. So some of these things are like instantly in place. Some of these things will be into 2026. Some of this stuff will be into 2027. Some of this will be after the primaries. Some of this stuff is set to go in almost like 10 years later. Some of this stuff is set where they have up to 10 years to set it in. So the bill is really it's very complex the way it was written. And you can tell this is definitely written by lobbyists. Epstein, why you bringing up old shit? Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Also, I watched a couple of I've watched more Tucker Carlson this week than I regularly ever would, and so I feel it's important to bring up some of the Tucker Carlson stuff that I've heard. Also, I watched the full speech by Tom Holman through the Turning Points portion of CPAC. Because if you guys don't know, CPAC is going on right now. We're going to talk a little bit about the Texas floods. And I think before anything, I guess I will start on a couple of other topics that I did not have in the main portion. It says, we need to talk about essence and diaspora. The Kenyan vice president was bragging about her family and how they sold us Black Americans to slavery and needs addressing. I guess if you got a short version of that video, you can send me. Send it to me on, I don't know, send it to me on one of these platforms. It's a little hard for me to, I don't know if I can click on any of the, well, I can't click on any of the stuff here and bring it up on the screen from the chat. Well, I guess maybe, let me try to see what Greg has here and see if it'll let me do it. Nah, I probably have to do it from my phone. It's not letting me do it from the StreamYard chat. But yeah, I guess I can go into it. I don't really, that's one topic, I'll be honest, that I did not pay a lot of attention into. And I'll go into why also. I guess we can say I'll send it to you on Twitter. Okay. Let me hop over to my Twitter and then check it out, see what you send over. Because it's just, and I'll be honest, the reason why I don't focus a lot on that is because, yeah, that's cool. Is because Essence Magazine, Essence Fest is something that was done as far as Black Americans in the United States. It's a very America-focused thing. And when you start pushing these things outside of the U.S., I don't know. It's almost like talking about in-house family problems amongst people who are not immediate family. Now, you could basically say, all right, you're talking about it over at grandma's house in front of the cousins and all that, but they don't need to know exactly that maybe daddy lost his job last week and mama got an alcohol problem. Everybody don't need to be in all the close, personal family dynamics. And that's kind of what I feel about the whole getting into the Essence Fest and branching it outside of America. If you want to build something up for the diaspora within America, cool, keep it there. But I can't feel a certain way too much about what happens once you put it into another country, because they have the ability to transform it and do what the hell they want with it. Dingo is in the building. What's up, Dingo? Trump's on the That's probably hilarious. But let me hop back over and see if Yamina has sent it yet. Come on, don't buffer. Behave. Oh shoot, I probably should. Which account did you send it to me on? Let me switch to my other account from here. Or accounts, multiple. Yeah, I guess just let me know after you sent it. But one of the topics I did want to bring up, Jacqueline. Hey, what's up, Jacqueline? Good to see you here. I guess I'll start. One story that's kind of slipped under the radar quite a bit is Bibi Netanyahu was in DC. Now, I feel like that's something that we should definitely be, looking into. Yes, we are, my brother. Saludos. But I wonder, like the Epstein stuff. I mean, not Epstein. We'll get to Epstein, whatever. But why was BB here? What was he doing? Do y'all think he was trying to push for more weapons? No, I don't think that's the case because I feel like they're going to give them to him regardless. I think that he was trying to appeal to Trump directly to try to see if he could somehow get this war kicked back up. That's what I think more than anything, because if you listen into like how they've been trying to negotiate this peace deal and all this stuff, basically the Israelis want to be able to attack Iran at any point in time. They're like, hey, we want to keep it peace, but at the same time, I should be able to go and just slap them whenever I feel like it. Can you put that in the deal? And it's like, what? I mean, are you even serious? Like, but that's what they're saying. If they get the inkling that Iran is doing anything, then that's justification for them to go in, attack Iran, bombing, shootings, whatever they decide to do. And then the peace deal still needs to be on. So it's per the rule, they want them to agree to, I get to slap you around, but you can't touch me. I don't know if y'all seen Rocky 5, but it reminds me a lot of a lot of the promoter in there, the Don King like character, and he'd be like, "Touch me and I'll sue." That's what it reminds me of. It's the whole "touch me and I'll sue," and it's kind of ironic and fitting. Let y'all go there with it, but that's what Israel wants. I think Israel wants to get that war kick-started again. I know Warren remembers that too. Which for people who are not movie buffs like that or watched all the you said bad movie, good. I don't think it was a bad movie. I think that it was, in comparison to the other Rocky movies, it's lesser quality. And I don't even think, honestly, like I went back and we re-watched it recently. That's tough to like throw out there, so I had to slow it down. But re-watching the movie recently, I realized it's not a bad movie. It had like a lot of real elements of a fighter once he retires, how hard it is to like let it go. Like even when your body is telling you physically to not do this anymore, how it's still that urge and drive in you. So if you can't physically do it, you might do it vicariously through somebody else. It also made Rocky look like a very, very bad father for most of the movie too. But yeah, definitely compared to the other ones, it was definitely not as good. In my opinion, if I was gonna rank them, and the creeds aside. Sorry if I'm going into my little nerdy movie rants, and hopefully you guys are not clicking off because you're tired of hearing me ramble. But for those who enjoy it, hopefully you enjoy. I would definitely say Rocky 4 is my favorite of the Rocky movies. So I put Rocky 4 as my number one. Rocky, the original, in second place, closely behind. Rocky 3 would be my third favorite. Then Rocky 2, Rocky 6, and then Rocky 5. Oh, you're checking out my shirt? New shirt in. Idiocracy was a documentary. And I feel like we're living in that to an effect largely. I caught some of Warren's show last night. I mean, it's always good how he throws in the nice mixture of news, and then at the end he gives you comedy, and also he's throwing in his nice one-liners and barbs and sound effects. So shout out to Warren. It's always a great show. Especially like that I gotta hit him up about that AI thing where it casted a whole lot of like I think it was 60s stars in the roles of different comic book roles, and kind of showed them how they would have looked in the 60s, and then it kind of advanced them into like modern age. Like it was pretty badass, I say. Whoever did it. Although I probably would have switched and put Yul Brynner in the place of like Aquaman instead, because after seeing Jason Momoa as Aquaman, now that I think of it, I think Aquaman more is fitting to somebody that would be more like a Pacific Islander. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe what they call it, recency bias. But yeah, Jerry Lewis as the Joker would have been a more fitting. That would have been definitely more fitting. I'm trying to remember, who did they put? Was it Frank Sinatra? Which Frank Sinatra would have been better. I agree with you. I think you said Frank Sinatra would have been better as Lex Luthor. Yeah, it was interesting. So it was definitely interesting. Yeah, Jerry was a dark person. And I think that would have brought out more. You would have had a pre-Heath Ledger, version. Well, it depends on how the director would have let it fly. It would have all depended. The only problem, of course, if you just choose from that era is, I think that it had a biasness towards not, I don't know, kind of going with the typical blonde hair, blue eyed look. And there were people in Hollywood which mixed origins, maybe a little darker European looks, and they favored the more blonde hair, blue eye look a whole lot more. I wouldn't even mind seeing like maybe James Dean as like the Green Lantern. That would have probably been cool also. Said the 70s Marvel video, they do have a Richard Roundtree. Oh, Richard Roundtree is Black Panther. That's kind of tight. That's kind of tight indeed. Yeah, I'm sorry. Nerding out, having a little bit of fun. Like I say all the time, if we didn't have all this crazy stuff going on in the world, it'd be interesting to see like what most of your favorite like YouTubers or Rumble people, what kind of stuff would they actually be talking about if they weren't talking about what we talk about. But had to have a little bit of fun for a moment, and then we'll get into some stuff which is not as fun. I wanted to start off with, let me see, did Yonina write me yet? Said, I love the nerd segments. Yes, I am definitely a nerd at heart. Did you see the Lady of the Sea Stuff video? No, I didn't see it. Okay, back to video editing, but I'm listening and learning. Okay, cool. Thank you. No, I didn't see the video. I mean, I've been watching a whole bunch of different stuff, so kind of overwhelmed. And I've been doing more stuff on TikTok, so excuse me for not being up on as much stuff as I normally would be. But I guess I'll start off with, I talked about BB a little bit, and BB is like one of those things where it's kind of like the teaser trailer at the end of Marvel. You already know that, okay, this little bitty 1 minute of this whole 2.5 hour production is going to have heavy forbearance on something coming soon. So we always have to keep an eye on that devious villain over there. It sparked a conversation about getting the form. Oh, I did. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. And I guess I could talk a little bit about that. Was that the one where they said basically off the gringos? Is that the one you're talking about? Which I don't know, it's so weird. The can you see my messages? I can see your message, yes. It's kind of weird because I get them, and at the same time, this is kind of this is my problem, which I have with a lot of protesters. When you just set up a protest for anybody to show up, you get anybody showing up, and you get anybody saying anything, and you don't have a controlled message over the protest. So if you're trying to protest for something specific, like if you go to the civil rights protests, which they had back in the day, they all sat down. They all had like, okay, so when a cop does this, put your hands up. Don't do anything. Do not fight back. Do this. Stay in close numbers. They had like rules and like etiquette which they were following. Okay, I know we might feel this way about this thing, and keep that in mind for when I bring up other protests later on. This is a critique of protests in general that I have. If you have like, okay, we're going there, this is our message, stay on brand. I'll just throw out just something random. My remote for my light is black. Let's say we want to protest and black remotes get hidden. We lose black remotes. So maybe we should have gray remotes instead. And so we're protesting for gray remotes. When the police come in and start knocking us upside the head and doing this and doing that, we need to say, yo, these people over here, make sure that you guys don't say anything. Your job is just to film what's going on so that the world is aware of what's going on. You guys over there are the physical presence. We want you standing there. We don't want you to physically do anything to the cops. We just want you to be our silent resistance. You over here, I want you guys holding up the signs, and I want those signs out so that we're able to capture those on video, and so it's clear that the police see these signs. That way, you're able to brand your struggle, and so it takes away from the media being able to say, "Oh, well, this person over here is doing this," and detract from the whole tone and message you're trying to portray. Because it goes back to like a learning lesson that I had when I was going back and forth with somebody, online. I was having this discussion and I twisted one fact. Now, I knew the fact in my head, but the way I typed it out, it put the things backwards. And that person seized on this one thing to basically try to negate everything that I'm saying there. The point in me bringing that up is this is why you try to organize these protests, why you try to stay on brand, try to stay on focus, so that somebody else who has ulterior motives don't try to pervert your message. And the good thing about these protests, when you bring a bunch of people out, it gets attention. The problem is when you don't have message discipline, you have people saying anything or doing anything, and it takes away from what the protest is supposed to be about. It makes it silly. It makes it disorganized. It makes it able to be easily dismissed. Do I believe that the people in Mexico who are protesting, protesting a lot of the foreigners coming into the country, and because they're coming in with more money or doing remote work, they're causing inflation in that country. They're making certain areas unlivable for the resident population. I can completely sympathize with that because we all deal with that here in the States. We don't like it when rich people come to areas that we grew up in and start pricing us out of where we live. And I know that they don't like it either. So I get that. But when you allow people to get on camera or spray paint things on the walls, off the gringos, it allows for it to bring your whole entire movement in a negative light. The same thing you've had with these Israel-Palestine protests. All it takes is for like the whole river to the sea chant. Even though I don't take it as some kind of I don't take it as some kind of negative or intentionally hateful chant. People who have ulterior motives, who are looking for ways to discredit you, will take that as, oh, you just want to get rid of all the Jews. You just want to kill us all. Now, that's not true. and it's just a deflection to get rid of things, and so and get rid of any kind of protest or invalidate people who are against you. Um, and so that's the reason why I say be careful with that. I sympathize with them definitely, and I feel like also, how are you coming into my country, many of you, and you want to turn Mexico into Little America? You don't want to acquiesce to our culture. You want our culture to bend towards your whim. Um, but I feel that same way about anybody coming into this country. I'm not saying don't hold on to your culture. I'm not saying that at all. I think that's extremely important to hold on to your cultures, your history, your ancestry, your sazon, all of that. I think that's important. But at the same time, America's supposed to be a melting pot. So at a certain point, it needs to be some melting also. I don't have a problem with, like, if I'm around different people within my community, we have a certain way that we talk and we hang, and a thing that we have in common, you know, um, we have our certain music and food that we love. But at the same time, there is an overarching personality of a country and a culture, and I think that we need to respect them both. I think one thing is beautiful about America is I love the fact of going to a city and I run into somebody of, you know, Americano. I can run into uh, uh, I can run into a Cubano. I can run into somebody from Ethiopia. I can run into somebody who's French, and be able for a little while to be immersed into their world and their cultures and their history. But then also have these things that, as Americans, that bring us all together in a sense. And so that's what I'm saying. I like the togetherness, and I also like our differences, and I want to celebrate them both. But there also takes that side of, like, celebrating our togetherness and Americanism, whether it's American football, whether it's baseball, whether it's beers and, you know, casual Friday and Taco Tuesday and whatever it might be, and, you know, Cinco de Mayo, which is definitely an American, mainly American holiday, which we try to pretend. You guys know what I'm saying. But these through lines that we kind of all have as a country, without erasing who you are and erasing what makes you you, what makes you a unique type of American, whether that you can be Canadian, whatever it is. Um, so I get where they're coming from, but it's so easy in this world to not have and thank you. I think somebody said they like my nuance analysis. Chamonix, thank you. The problem I feel is I don't feel a lot of people are try to be nuanced. I don't feel a lot of people try to say, I know they said this, but is this exactly what they mean? Or do they mean something else? Or maybe this person isn't the best communicator in communicating what they're trying to get across. Doesn't mean that they're not brilliant. Doesn't mean they're not intelligent. It just means that sometimes you might not be getting the whole grasp of the situation. Sometimes people speak as if you're in on the whole entirety of the conversation. You know the whole history of this. You know all these. So I can skip past these things and just talk like this. Well, some people are just walking into the room and they don't know what you're talking about. And so it has to be spoken that way, as if you're talking to an audience of people who don't always know the starting point of that genesis of that conversation. Just my takes. Let's see. Yes, you're definitely welcome. With the stream, trying to watch two streams. That's tough, watching two streams at the same time. I used to do that with homework all the time, and it got me in a lot of trouble. I have not seen the new Superman film, but I do plan on seeing it. And has sympathetic towards Palestine. Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's Superman. He should be. Superman used to be sympathetic to anybody who was the downtrodden, who's being basically picked on or bullied. And I did hear a lot of people on the right who had their critiques of it, which I'll definitely check it out soon. Actually, we saw was F1, which it gave me a lot of feels back to what is that movie? Days of Thunder. It reminded me a whole lot of Days of Thunder. Um, and it's like it's like mixing Days of Thunder with like some of the personality traits of like a Tony Stewart. For those who are not familiar with racing and stuff like that, Tony Stewart was a famous Hall of Fame NASCAR driver, which now he's in the NHRA series, which is drag racing. But he did like multiple different types of racing, and so he was a champion in multiple different fields of racing, whether that be Formula One, whether that's touring, whether that's NASCAR, whether midget car, which I'm not being offensive. It's literally called midget car racing because the way the cars are very small and they have big, huge wings on them and they're very souped up and they race on a dirt track. But that is a type of racing. And so, and then even into the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a type of racing where they race through like, I don't know, like it's basically like off-road racing. That's a whole nother thing, racing. And so Tony Stewart is one of those type of drivers that will do all of those different things. And so the main character, Brad Pitt's character in this, kind of did a lot of that. Like he raced just anything. So I don't know. I thought it was a good movie. Said not a Tom Cruise fan, but I love Days of Thunder, and Robert Duvall was great. Robert Duvall is always great in most movies, in my opinion. I mean, he also I don't know. I could go into so many movies of his that I think was great, but it for people who are not familiar with Formula One racing, it gives you an insight of like how technical and what really goes on behind the scenes is more than just sitting behind the wheel and driving. What up? Tom's in the building. Good to see you, sir. I don't know, but I will check out the movie, and then I will give you guys my take on what I think from it, honestly. Let's see. Miss Boobs, you're being funny. Okay, so what else was I going to talk about before I get? I think that's all for that. If I see the thing about the Essence Fest, Yonina, I will. I don't see it yet. Yeah. When I see it, I will bring it up and I will talk about it. Oh, it's good. Dean Cain sounds like he's I haven't liked Dean Cain for a long time. I'll be honest, I didn't like Dean Cain, his version of Superman. What was it? Lois and Clark. I thought it was garbage even back then when it was on. I thought it was garbage. To me, he just never felt like Superman. And it's kind of ironic. He's calling it kind of like woke and all of that, when some people would consider him more the woke Superman because he wasn't the typical image of Superman. But I digress. I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I haven't liked Dean Cain in like virtually anything he's ever been in, so I think he's a crappy actor and probably a crappy person in general. But that's neither here nor there. I think what was it, Terry Hatcher? I think she carried the whole show, if anything. So, and if we're talking about Smallville, also Smallville, the way they did the villains was all corny and cheesy, but that's what you get with regular TV anyway. I can't share it on Twitter, so I send it on Facebook Messenger. Let me check Facebook Messenger then. let's see. Okay. Let's see if I can. Okay, that doesn't look very long. Let me see if I can bring that up on the screen. And I'll talk a little bit about it before we get into some of these other heavier topics. If it'll let me. It doesn't want to let me. So I'll let that sit there. And maybe I'll bring that up later on as kind of a decelerant for us to talk about when some of these other topics get a little crazier. Yes, somebody save me. So I'm gonna get into one, and I figure I might as well start on a topic where I'm probably in the minority, especially within the lanes that we travel in. I'm in the minority, and I don't have a problem with being in the minority, and most people probably disagreeing with me on it. I still love y'all nonetheless. That's cool. But I figure I'll just go ahead and talk about it. I saw many videos. In fact, I wonder if I can share my TikTok video that I did. That I posed a question. I posed a question to people, and the reason why I posed this question, or actually, not even my video. Screw my video. My video doesn't matter. I want to pull up the initial video, the original one, and share that because I had so many questions, and the questions that I had from that video, I don't know. Maybe some people in here can explain it to me more. Um, but it's just I have so many questions. Oh wait a minute, that's weird. The video you sent me, Yonina, took me to X. That's wild. Okay, whatever. So that's that one. So just bear with me as I grab these videos from over there. And then I will share my video also. And it's kind of funny which videos on TikTok, which they choose, it gets out into the algorithm and which ones don't. One message where I feel I'm not, okay, why does it not want to let me, oh, there it is, copy link. And there we go, click over here. Don't do that, behave. It's been real weird with me trying to share any messages which I put into my group folder on X. It's I have to do it like multiple times. It doesn't want to let me share these videos. So let me go into that's the first video. Let's see, get this on the screen, and then I'll pause it real quick. Just bear with me. Seems like I'm getting a little buffering. But yeah, all right, here we go. So this is a video that was from, I'm not sure if it was from a couple of years ago, but this is videos from lawmakers in Kirk County. So let's put the volume on.
We do not want more of mandates, attack.
Come on. really behave.
Biden's money.
Well, I guess while it's trying to set up, what this is a video of. Come on.
They hate America. They're teaching it in our schools. They're invading the border.
Wow, it does not want to play this video. For a second. Maybe that's what it just needs to pause for a minute. If it'll go. Okay, all right, because that does want to behave. So anyway, Burke County, and they didn't want any government money. To me, I don't get it. I don't understand it. The mandate, the lady said, we don't want any of their mandates or whatever. This wasn't a COVID mandate. So I just want to clarify that, because I know some people think, oh, well, that's what she might have been talking about. What she was talking about was the mandate of that money that was being sent was it had to be sent specifically towards flash flood warnings. It had to be spent towards meteorologists and all this stuff. And it was part of the so-called climate initiative. And so some of those things, part of the climate initiative, were, since we know that this is a area that floods, we want to send additional resources so we can be preventative of, if things happen down the road, then you can get early warnings out. Keep in mind, this is not an area where flooding is uncommon. I mean, kind of like how the fires happen out here in California. Fires happen all the time. Fires happen in different areas. The places that got burned are not necessarily the places that burn every single year, though it's not strange for you to look back and see, oh, wait a minute, yeah, 50 years ago, they actually did have a bad fire out here. And 10 years before that, and 25 years before that, they had a bad fire out there. This area, I'm wondering if it's probably safe for me to be able to bring up this article and read. So let me bring up this article. Now, granted, I want to say this first, because I've heard a lot of people talk about cloud seeding. And this is why I say this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I believe in conspiracies, don't get me wrong. I do believe they're hiding things. I'm not sitting there just believing the official narrative. I'll believe anything if you can produce enough evidence for me to believe it makes sense. Because I believe there's a certain amount of things that have to go into play for me as far as my litmus for bringing up something, for pushing as if I believe that this is the scenario that's going on. And I'm going to qualify if I believe it's possible, if I believe it's highly possible, if I believe that this is what all the evidence which I've seen so far lead me to believe. Now, is there weather engineering going on? Yes, that is real. Are they able to do it concentrated to a certain level? Yes. Do I believe that climate engineering is what caused these floods to be the way that they were? No. And I'll explain my reasoning for it. Chris H says, yeah, Jimmy Jimmy Dore brought on a guy that said it was geoengineering the Texas flood. And that's why I say I'm going to lay out my premise for it. And I know that everybody's not going to agree with me. So that's perfectly fine. But hopefully you guys will just hear out my perspective and why I disagree with what's been brought up. Kerr County has a long history of floods. As Kerr County begins what is likely to be a long and expensive recovery from July 4th flood, longtime Kerr County residents remember other floods that claimed life and property over the past century. Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly called the Guadalupe River Basin one of the most dangerous in the country. So this is already setting a precedent that this is a place which floods often, and everybody there has known that this has been a dangerous place. Oh, goodness gracious. Even this doesn't want to open up, just reading. Okay, where is the rest of the story? Because I was reading this story and there's a lot more to it than that. It's just taking a long time to open up. Okay, then I guess I'll just talk for a little bit while this thing tries to open and load. This is one thing I say all the time. I say all the time that I do believe that all of these people who, like, I say all of these people who are in power, who do some of these geoengineering and stuff like that, I say all the time, you got to look at them like Bond villains. And I still hold to that. I still hold to the fact that I believe that they're like Bond villains. But here's the difference. I do not believe they are as nearly as effective as most people give them credit for. That is where my pushback comes in. Do I believe that they will want to do this? Yes. But do I believe they have the ability to do this to the level? No, I don't. And this has also been the issue with many of these other situations. When people brought up the fires out here, California is a super dry area. It's not hard to toss a match and cause that same situation. Why would you need to queue up some giant, supposedly super expensive machine to do something that a match could do? That doesn't make sense. You already have winds which are on a massive level. Because the couple of things which I do when I try to weigh out these things is, what is the genesis of this? What is the likelihood? Who benefits? All of those things go into my analysis. All of those things go into my analysis on what I think is going on and why. One thing that I did notice is years back when a lot of people started leaning more towards everything about climate change is completely a hoax. There had to be an explanation to explain, okay, if climate change is a hoax, then why are there these climate abnormalities that are happening? And what started to pop up is theories on weather manipulation more and more. And here's the thing. Every lie starts with a little bit of truth. And I'm not saying that these people are lying at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying a lot of the conspiracy theorists are out here lying. That's not what I'm saying. Is some of the stuff they're saying probably more than likely the actual truth? Yes. But does that mean in every single case that they're correct on this? No. Do I believe that they're accurate even on what they're saying about climate change? And I'm talking about the people who say climate changes are big existential threat. We need to worry about it. Do I believe that they're necessarily telling the truth on everything? No. Because I don't believe that they know. They're going off of a calculation on what they think, and calculations can be wrong. I feel both sides of the argument are wrong in certain things. And I think one is wrong because they're over analyzing and not factor in certain things that are natural occurrences. If you look throughout historically, the climate has went up and down as I'm talking about as far as the planet, and effects of human beings actually factor into that. At the same time, is it as existential as it's made out to be from some of the climate activists? No, not necessarily. Are there things over here which are happening, whether that is, geoengineering, whether that is, all of these things are going on, but I don't feel everything is a nice, easily fits into a nice, easy box. So what I'll say is, yes, they did have the blue rain. It's documented. They even admit that yes, they were spraying the clouds and stuff a couple of days before. Do I believe that what they sprayed in the clouds? Here, let's put it this way. Okay, let's say for instance they did, and this is caused it. Then I would have to hear what is the purpose and why would so many people like here's the one thing about a conspiracy when it's on a small scale is easier to keep the conspiracy together. The more and more people you involve in this conspiracy, the harder it becomes to keep it a conspiracy because all the information starts to leak out. It's not land grab because these people are not going to lose that area. They're going to stay back in that same area. The same thing with the fires that happened out here. Those people didn't lose their home. They cleaned up and people are moving land. Now, Hawaii is a different story. Hawaii is a different story than especially like what's going on in some of these. That's the reason why I say every single one of these incidents that pop up is not always conspiracy. Every hurricane that happens, because that's what I'm starting to hear for every natural disaster that happens or every disaster that happens. Everybody rushes immediately to some kind of conspiracy through weather manipulations, lasers, all of this different stuff. Yes, they do have space lasers, but why do they need to start a fire with space lasers when they can do it so much easier? That just doesn't, for me, that doesn't track. Also, the thing about it is if you use those space lasers, you don't think everybody in the world is going to know you're using those space lasers. And so that would require for everybody else around the world to not tell on you. You think there's no countries out, every single country is going to be on board and not tell what's going on? I have a hard time believing that. Other people may believe that. I personally, yeah, it's lasers are invisible to the naked eye, yes, but they're not naked to machinery. Machinery can see all those things. I know because I worked on machinery that could see stuff like that. That's the reason why I'm like, I don't buy that. I don't buy the rationale for why people say that that's it. What I mostly see and what I see the correlation is people who do not believe in any form of climate change. I guess this is not gonna pull up this article. Let me try refreshing it. Most of the people who do not believe in any form of climate change at all have leaned into believing that no, it's something nefarious that somebody up top is doing. That's the reason why this happened. And it's to approve some climate agenda. To basically make money off of people, I guess. And multiple other reasons. But here, let's read now this came up. Says the wall of water is how many describe the Guadalupe flooding ferocity. As a 9-year-old child, I witnessed one such flood in 1959 when heavy rain pounded West Kirk County between October 1st to the 4th. From our hill on Texas, 39 and a half between Ingram and Hunt, we watched a wall of water sweep through the river basin that was parched and partly denuded by drought. The normally gentle Guadalupe River is like a freight train and spilled into the hill until it covered the highway. Ray Lynch, retired longtime Ingram volunteer firefighter, who was 7 at the time, said the divide got 11 inches of rain in 45 minutes. Weather was reported to rise so quickly that people had no time to evacuate. Lynch recalled that Ingram Dam had just been completed with the expectation it would take 3 to 4 years for the lake to fill up. Heck, Lynch said, it filled up in 3 to 4 hours. At the confluence of Johnson Creek and the Guadalupe River, the water flowed at 95,900 cubic feet per second from a drainage area of 115 square miles, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The Kerrville Times reported it as the worst flood in 24 years, causing $1 million in damage. It was the first time Kerr had ever been declared a federal disaster area. Since 1974, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has been Kerrville's official climate site, but weather records are reasonably complete, dating back to September of 1895. According to the early weather records for this region, the first flood in the Guadalupe in Kerr County occurred in July 1869, but little information is available for the event. 1911, a July 1900 event was the first catastrophic flood event locally, as more than 11 inches of rain was reported in that year. In the year, Guadalupe River crested at 31 feet, and significant damage was reported to the Green and Comfort. The river crested at 42 feet. Significant property damage was reported, but there was no loss of life. To skip down a little bit more, tragedy. The most tragic weather event in Kerr County history happened in July 1987 when 10 teenagers were killed as they tried to evacuate from a church camp near Center Point. During the overnight hours between July 16th and 17th, up to 15 inches of rain was estimated to have fallen just west of Hunt in the upper headwaters of Guadalupe River Basin. Moore and Edwards and Rain County spread into Kerr County, and the storm became a quiet killer. No thunder was observed for the most of the massive flood wave that traveled through Hunt, Ingram, Kerrville, and Comfort, where the Guadalupe crested at 31.5 feet in the morning hours of July 17th. So let's skip to another one. You have it killing 25 people. Talk about. So I'm just trying to show. What year was that? 1932 was a massive one. 1936, 2002. This is a river with flooding also came in. This flooding that came in happened before this cloud seeding. My point is, but my point in bringing this up is a lot of times people who don't want to acknowledge any form of climate change The reason why I do believe in climate change, but I believe these other things also, is living in Florida showed me enough. And I'm not talking about the hurricanes. When I did Armored Truck, I used to go into what was it, Ponte Vedra Country Club. And in the Ponte Vedra Country Club, you would have pictures, and the pictures were of the country club over all the years that it's been there. And I'm able to easily observe the coastline in these pictures, and I'm able to observe the coastline now because I was able to go and walk down to it. What you see on the coastline of Florida is you see beach erasure in a massive way. You can see areas where at one point from the ocean up to where these houses were was 100 yards. You can see where that has been cut in half. So something is happening. And you can't tell me that the whole water level for the whole coastline of Florida is some kind of creation from some weather machines. Something bigger is happening. You can't tell me that the actual climate of the entire planet is increasing and there are no effects to that. You can't tell me that. That makes no sense to me. I live in the land of empirical data. I look at data. I weigh this in, all of the data, and it has to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to tell you it doesn't make sense. I don't make any money from any kind of person. I'm not benefiting from being on one side or the other of an issue. I'm going by what I see and what makes sense. You also can't tell me that we have 8 billion people on the planet, more gas and stuff that's being put into the air, and none of that has an effect at all. This is the problem which I have with this whole narrative of trying to pin everything on somebody at the top turning on some machine to make the weather do things. I don't buy that. Marcus, have you ever heard of ocean reversal tides? No, I have not. So I don't know. Maybe that's something you can explain to me. But no, I've never heard of that. Warren says the Louisiana marshlands have been disappearing for years. That's why hurricanes that make landfall in that area have gotten worse, because there's no break. That's the point I keep trying to explain to people. This is not something that you can click on a machine and just do. Can you make water rain down in a couple of fields? Yes. But can you create these giant floods like this? I don't buy that. I don't buy that you're out there creating hurricanes. I mean, and keep in mind, this is a Peter Thiel company. What I've seen from Peter Thiel, this man is not the smartest man. He may be one of the most evil men, and he may be capable of doing things like this. But I do not believe him or the people around him have the know-how to do these things. Keep in mind, I've worked with multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar equipment that I have seen not work, not function. So these tech tycoons and titans who create some of this stuff, I've seen plenty of the things which they invest all of this money into. That is a piece of garbage. That is trash. And so it's hard for me to compute in my head these people who get these billion-dollar contracts and sometimes rack in trillions of dollars, put out a good portion of their stuff that is pure junk. And so they put out stuff that is pure junk, but I'm supposed to believe that this secret tech that they're doing, that they're able to do it with 100% accuracy, 100% correct every single time. It just doesn't track for me. It does not make sense. That's what I said. I can be in the minority. I'm fine with being in the minority on that. That is that's how I see it. If somebody can show me that these people are as brilliant as to be able to do these things with perfect accuracy, then okay, then I can start believing. But until then, I don't know. Dane Wigington. No, I've never heard of Dane Wigington. They don't use military planes to spray that. Those are private. The stuff that they spray is through private companies. Because I'm not accessing the DARPA Cosma clearance tech. Okay, so who in the chat is accessing that tech? I'm pretty sure I've had more access to most of this tech that's being used than most of the people you're listening to, or just tech in general. And that's what I'm saying. None of us. So this is all theory. This is all going back to theory. And that's the reason why. So you'd have to go with the premise that on all this other shit, they're basically 50-50, but in this one area, they nail it. They get it all perfectly correct in this one area. Yes, there can be documents that prove that they do all kind of things, but the efficacy or effect of those matter. It makes a difference on how effective they are at doing these things. It says, Greg says, just let the infrastructure crumble. You don't need to control the weather. Just manipulate it. And when dam or levees break, you have plots. Yes, but okay, but then it goes back to what is the point? What is the purpose of that? And also, see, this is what I don't get. Well, when it was mostly Obama or Biden in office, everything was definitely that. And now this is the first time where now I'm hearing, okay, well, even people believe that it's on both sides. I don't get the point of it. There's easier ways to reduce the population. If you want to reduce the population, get World War III going. That'll do that. Weather events is a very, very inefficient way of doing that. Especially, okay, this one was pretty bad and killed. I mean, going well over, I think what is last number I heard, like over 170 people. That's still percentage-wise a small percentage of that town. I mean, think about it. America is over 350 million people. We have like thousands of people who die every day, and that's most people don't even notice. I mean, not trying to say that to be like disheartened or cruel, but the fastest way to get people out of here, if that's the goal, is war. Not all these other ways. And that's the thing. They're going to destroy this area, and then they're going to give people money to rebuild in those same areas over and over. Then what's the point of even doing that? Because if you're going to just allow the people to move back in and then wait another 15 years for another flood and maybe take out another 50 people because you'll probably have a better warning system next time around because you'll be more cautious. I mean, it just, to me, it doesn't track. That's all. Let's see, yes, Craig Passadula had to debunk the laser theory with Lahaina. He investigated that deep. That's what I'm saying. When you get on the ground and you literally look at some of this stuff, It's not these crazy, elaborate conspiracy theories. It's really not that deep. Sometimes all it is, for instance, the fire that happened out here, the Palisades fire, it was a, or I might, excuse me if I get the fires mixed up, which one. But what happened out here is you had a transformer that blew up. That happens all the time when you overload the grid, which the grid out here is overloaded. We've had blackouts and stuff out here. So that's, I mean, if you understand like the track of all this stuff, there are perfectly legitimate reasons for why this stuff happens. And then you combine that going, and then at the same time also you have what are called firebugs out here. I had never heard of this because I've never seen this anywhere else but California. You have people who literally wait till there's a fire to go out to try to start more fires. They get off on that. Yeah, I can't wait to set some more fires. That's what people are literally out there doing. Some of it is people who just don't give a damn and want to see things burn. Some of these might be people who are doing it because, hey, I can get by on with some insurance. I mean, I can get an insurance claim out of this. There's multiple reasons why people do things, but there's so many easy ways to do like, for instance, when I watched all these content creators putting out videos about LA is burning, LA is in so much trouble, we need to send the National Guard out there because it's so out of control. But for people who live in LA, no, we're talking about protests that are basically taking up a couple of blocks. A couple of blocks out of a metro that is over 500 miles. So a little tiny thing that's going on over here with cameras showing it from a gazillion different angles and then refocusing on an area over here where you had a couple of cars set on fire. And that's the level that people are like, yes, we need to bring the National Guard and the Marines in. I mean, the biggest overkill that you'd ever need. For one, do y'all not know who the police are out here? This is the LAPD, one of the most notorious police forces in the world for cracking heads. This is what they do. They don't need the National Guard and Marines to come out here and do something that, for one, the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department have been far more brutal than anything that the Marines or National Guard is going to do, because they have what's called ROE, rules of engagement. This is what you do if this happens. This is what you do if that happens. This is what you do if that happens. So they're not emotionally charged in any of this. They're walking in as a neutral advisor. If somebody steps over this line, use this amount of force. If somebody attacks your guy, protect him with this amount of force. The LAPD ain't working like that. You got ones out there who have their different political beliefs and decide they want to do this. You have some people who just want to go out there and fuck people up. Let's just be honest. This is what you have to understand about what goes on out here. There's this, and when you get on the ground to many of these different circumstances, you start seeing it's different than what social media is trying to tell you. We got to get out of social media. And this is the last thing I'll say about like making everything a conspiracy theory. When it's actually really a conspiracy theory, when it's actually something for us to like really nail down and look into, you're watering it down with calling everything this grand conspiracy. It's no different that if Black people overuse stuff as racism, or no different if, you know, a Hispanic person's, oh, you're coming after me because I'm brown, or no different than a Jewish person screaming anti-Semitism every 5 minutes, or blood libel. When you overuse these terms, it waters them down and it makes them useless. And it's the same thing if you call every single thing this grand conspiracy. So that's what I had to say on that. I'll look into some of these stuff. You guys send them to me. Shout out, I see Harry Junkman in the building. What's up, Harry Junkman? Yeah, send me these different people, and I'm willing to listen to all of the different takes. I just have my take, and I go off of, okay, I'm seeing this, I add this in, I'm adding that in. Does this compute? No, doesn't. Doesn't mean that my calculations were correct. Doesn't mean that it was wrong either. It means that off of the information that I have and my analysis, this is the best way that I can see it, and this is what I lean to. And as somebody who has nothing benefit from being on any side of any of these issues, just know that you're getting a legitimate take, and it's not bought and paid for. Exactly, John. People don't understand this, like who are not military, not former military. The UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. You have rules. You have rules that you focus on that guide what you do, and they supersede everybody. It's not like the LAPD, which they can make up their own rules and then cover each other's ass. It don't work that way. In the military, unless you guys all jump in, and the thing about it is you always gonna have somebody who's overchecking this, overseeing that, and somebody who's looking at all these different eyes on things. So it's a whole lot harder to have this dirty unit get away with stuff. That's the reason why the Abu Ghraib thing was so shocking, because stuff like that normally don't happen. It gets busted out. Now, do you hear about it in the media? Do you hear that such and such got caught doing this? No, you don't. But believe you me, it gets dealt with. They're testing as they go. Fuck with us as they skim and keep the narrative going. Look over there as kills as many. I think there's some truth to that. I do. I think that I like, for instance, this is what I will say as far as like the fires out here. I'll give this. I just think that a lot of this stuff too boils down to a massive level of incompetence. You know that we have a massive amount of people moving here every day. You know that there's more energy being used, but you're not going to do anything to upgrade the grid or get any additional energy to take pressure off the grid. Then at the same time, knowing that you're in that risk, knowing it's super dry out there, knowing that you've just did maintenance on these pumps, so these are going to go down. So that means if anything happens, you already have a chain of things that are going to go in a negative way to make these things worse. And it's the same thing with the flooding situation. You guys know you have a problem area. You know you have all of these different things going on. And then you refuse money from the government that can help with this situation. Oh, well, actually, sorry. They didn't refuse the money. They took the money. They put some towards police department. They took some towards like sidewalks and a whole bunch of other stuff. But they refused any of that towards helping with problems of potential flooding and warning systems and all that. Then with Doge cuts, Doge literally cut people in that specific county. Well, they didn't cut them. Sorry. I got to make sure I speak properly. They didn't cut the people. What they did is when Doge sent out those offers and said, hey, if you step down, we'll give you this severance package. Plenty of people in Kerr County took those severance packages, which Doge was offering, and they never refilled those roles. So the same people who work on coordination and warning systems and evacuations, those positions were open and nobody filled them. And so that's what I'm saying. More of this stuff boils down to incompetence more than anything. You have city leaders who, because of political grandstanding, don't want to take money from the other side. Then the money that they do take, they don't want to allocate it towards that. Then you have billionaires playing around with our government, not understanding it, defunding and making things weaker, and then not realizing, oh yeah, what you did over there, what happened to these people, you did that. But they're never going to take responsibility. And when people throw off all these other conspiracies, you're letting these people get off the hook for what they have done to their own people. that's another reason why I guess I feel I got to look these conspiracy theories thoroughly before I just go with it, because you're basically letting people off the hook for their own incompetence that caused people's lives. And we will keep these same people in power and let them keep doing it over and over and over, because we're going to blame it on some elusive, mysterious person behind the scenes who's manipulating things. And that's not always the case. That's all I'm saying. I would agree with this. I think a lot of people have no idea what actually goes down at protests. That's why the Trumpers think LA and BLM 2020 protests are all George Soros and NGO. Yeah, I heard people say, in fact, I heard Kim Iverson say, look at all these Mexican flags. Like where are they getting all these Mexican flags? For one, if you live in LA, a lot of Mexican people do keep Mexican flags in their houses, up on the wall, hanging outside their houses. I'm like, have you, like, Kim, for somebody who lives in California, who's lived in LA, I don't get how that's, I don't know, maybe, I don't know where she lives, but it's very, very common for plenty of Mexican people to have Mexican flags in their house and all over the place. And a perfect example, USA just played Mexico in soccer. There were tons of people who have nothing to do with the protests who were going there rooting for Mexico with Mexican flags. Where do they get those? Because they sell them out here in all the stupid stores. Even at the protest, there was a guy who was riding around selling random different flags. You've never been to a protest before and understand that there are people who are doing all kind of stuff. There are people who literally go to the protest and hand out water and fruit snacks and things like that so people will keep their energy up. They're not doing it for money. So I just think people need to, man, when they say touch grass, some of y'all need to get out and actually see these things, be immersed in them for real, and then you can get a better understanding of what's going on. Jimmy Dore had a quack on saying that cloud seeding did the flooding. I mean, I don't buy the cloud seeding did the flooding. I don't, especially since it happened a couple of days before. And when you cloud seed, literally that same day it rains. It also doesn't rain to the levels that they're saying. That's the reason why I have. That's what I found with a lot of conspiracies. And I give them credit. You have to have some form of truth. All of it has some kind of form of truth, or else it's a waste of time. But before I go with just saying this happened because of this, I got to run it through. Okay, why? What was the purpose? Is this plausible? That's what I said. Somebody else could probably prove me wrong. Somebody could say, you know what, Marcus, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about this and this and this. Okay, fine. I'm not that full of pride that I can't say, you know what, I was wrong on that. And people who know me know that I'm very flexible at hearing out perspectives and viewpoints and correcting mine if I'm wrong. A whole lot of money. Colin have heard, yes, a whole lot of money is in the air, and a lot of things. Like, I honestly believe where they're going to deal with this population decline is going to be through a massive war, and I don't want that to be the case, but that's what I believe is going to be the case. Soul says, I never served and stood by my brother in a military base. Never served and stood by my brother in a military base and seen firsthand the brainwash. Yeah, there's a lot of brainwash that goes in, but also the military average age, well, I don't know what it is right now. I'm quoting off the top of my head, but when I was in the average age, the so-called median age in the military was like 21, and maybe a little higher now, maybe like 23. Most of these 23-year-olds are not highly engaged in politics, don't give a damn about politics, or just following orders and receiving a paycheck. They don't care about your politics, and they're not on either side. They're just, the biggest thing that they do care about is, I'm going to protect the person next to me. These are the people I've went through it with. These are the people I go out and party with. These are my buddies, my friends. When I've had good times, bad times, these are the people who've been there for me. So this is what I care about. They don't care about the politics. Plenty of them don't even know the politics of it. Yes, I do agree. She's an Asian supremacist, and that's why I don't watch a lot of her content. I feel like, honestly, sometimes I watch her content, I'm like, she's not that smart. And I honestly feel maybe she's gotten to where, I hate to say this about any woman, but I feel like maybe she's gotten to where she's gotten because people have thought she was attractive. And because she was saying a narrative that people liked. She lives in Santa Monica. So if she lives in Santa Monica, I have to think that she's full of it. To the whole Mexican flags thing that she was saying. She has to be full of it to not know that. Doge is serious, Eris, MAGA is sorcery, Trump is. Is that true? Cullen have heard. Is that true? As I mean, if it's true, that's hilarious. Hemp car's in the building. What's up, Hemp car? Or where did they get the Mexican flags and masks so much? BS is, has me tired. Yeah, I feel like Americans have no understanding of other Americans at all. It's because plenty of people live in their own bubbles, and they just need to get out of their bubbles. People need to get out of their bubbles, I would say. All right, so let me try to see. I'm getting caught up on the chat. Am I caught up yet? I think I'm caught up now. So, Chris, Kim Iverson used to live in LA, but I think she left because she could live in, like, I know she had family in like Idaho or something like that. She could live in like Idaho or some crap. Who knows? I think Kim Iverson lives in Florida now. Yeah, but if you lived in California, there's no way you're just gonna like forget how things run or move out here. And plus, there's plenty of people who are on the ground. Like that video, which apologies it wasn't able to play last week, where dude is going into it, he's driving around. You're able to literally see what's going on the ground. You're able to see the Walk of Fame. You're able to see, you know, these different areas. And hop on social media. There are plenty of people who are literally showing you like what is going on area by area, street by street. So it's not hard for you to find that out. And if you know how big LA is as a city, and then even more so the metro area, counting into like Riverside and all these other areas, you know how big this place is. So to act like LA is burning, I'm noticing more and more how clickbaity a lot of these people are online, and it's kind of starting to aggravate me a little bit. I mean, low key, it's starting to aggravate me. Now, some of these are people which I've always had some respect for and felt like they were trying to be honest actors, and I'm just like getting tired of it. And then there's also people out there where I feel like their platforms are big enough that they don't have to preach to the choir anymore. They don't have to say stuff that we all know. It's about time that they start, you know, having something engaging to say. I mean, there's a content creator, a couple that I respect and like that. I don't really watch their shows anymore because it's like I have a whole bunch of different information I can be studying and try to learn to just hear you say stuff that I already know and that I feel most of us already know. I doubt she'd live near the Palisades. The Palisades. I mean, yeah, I doubt she would live over there. Palisades is a predominantly like black area. Granted, it was an older black area where these homes weren't very expensive, and then over the years they've appreciated in value because of location. But I can't see her living near the Palisades. Maybe closer up towards like Malibu or something like that. But I don't think she got that kind of deep pockets unless she married, unless her husband has got those kind of deep pockets. I mean, if she still lives out here in this area, it's more than likely she probably lives near Orange County or something, which that would make more sense because Orange County is a lot more red. And these days, she's leaned more and more and more to the right as far as her commentary. I used to give her benefit of the doubt because she grew up Mormon in Idaho, but her takes keep getting worse. She ain't no Monica Perez. I when I saw that like the only black people that she would bring on her show would be black people who come on to bash other black people, I stopped messing with her content. I was like, so you're trying to push a narrative. You're not trying to have an engagement and get an understanding of various different black people who are within this political scene. You're not trying to get real takes. You're just trying to push a narrative. The only things that I give her that she was decent on is I agree with her when it came to COVID stuff. Outside of COVID stuff, pretty much most of what Kim says is trash, in my opinion. So I don't pay her any attention. Okay. So I think I went a little bit longer on that than I planned on it, but it's all good. I guess we'll go on to the next topic if it behaves. The screen is not wanting me to play too much of anything, so I'm gonna try to stick to stories instead of videos that I had ready. So hopefully this will let me bring this. So let's read this, and I know for you people who are very source critical, this is from CNN, so don't beat me up too much about just reading this. I feel like if it's coming from something where it's just speaking directly of one thing, then it's not too big of a deal. But Trump announces tariffs of 30% on Mexico and the European Union. President Donald Trump on Saturday threatened duties of 30% on products from Mexico and European Union, two of America's biggest trading partners, in an ongoing tariff campaign that's upended global trade since he retook office in January. The United States of America has agreed to continue working with the EU despite having one of the largest trade deficits with you. Nevertheless, we have decided to move forward, but only with more balance and fair trade. Trump wrote in a letter to Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, which he posted to Truth Social, which is kind of wild to me that we have a president who like just tweets out and posts stuff like a little teenage girl instead of going to the media and doing press releases like other ones. But anyway, Trump has imposed a slate of tariffs on U.S. trading partners this year, then pause. Modify, raise, or lower them in a chaotic barrage of policy actions that's left everyone from major nations to individual Americans trying to figure out how to plan for the future, even as economic uncertainty grows. The EU and Mexico join a growing list of countries whose imports will face updated duties on August 1st, since Trump began posting tariff letters on Monday with rates of up to 40%. In his letters to the EU and Mexico, Trump said that all imports were subject to 30% tariff. Sorry about that. Come on. Close. Close. Hello. Wake up. Wow, that's that's aggressive as um no, that's why it got out of the way. So read a little bit more. Lost my place. The 30% tariff on EU exports would hurt consumers on both sides of the Atlantic. The EU will take all necessary steps to safeguard EU interests, including the adoption of proportionate countermeasures if required, von der Leyen wrote. French President Emmanuel Macron uh, uh, resolutely defend European interests. So, I mean, you guys can read the rest of that. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this already. My only question this time, and well, I know he's going to actually impose them. Now, my question is he actually going to keep them in place? And how long is he going to keep them in place once shit hits the fan? I always wonder once he does it, because it's not an intelligent policy. And for people who don't get exactly why he's doing this, I'm pretty sure most of the audience does, but I'll go on and explain just one more time briefly. The whole reason is of trade imbalance. And the reason why we have a trade imbalance with many of these countries is because of we have an imbalance in our countries. You can't expect for it's like the equivalent of, let me just use okay, Chris H, for instance. Let's say Chris H owns a high-end jewelry store, and I own a grocery store, and mine is not even a grocery store; it's just a mom and pop store. Chris H might buy groceries from me, and so I'm able to make some money off of the groceries that Chris H buys from me. But do I necessarily have the money to go buy from his high-end jewelry store? No, not necessarily. And therein lies the problem with the Trump tariffs on these countries. He's expecting for these countries to buy at the same amount that America buys from these other countries. Keep in mind, some of these countries are massively smaller than us. So they don't necessarily have the same wealth. They also don't have the same, their money is not worth the same amount. And also they may not have the need for some of these things. Getting mad at some of these countries because they're not buying American vehicles. If you go to these countries, you'll see American vehicles are ginormous. They are humongous on some of these streets. And they're not going to be bought in high numbers because you can't use them. You can't take an F-150 and decide you want to drive through the streets of Italy. You're not going to be able to move that big ass vehicle anywhere. And this is the problem that the Trump administration, like, I'm like, are these people just like, I mean, the level of stupidity, I mean, for how these tariffs are being put into place is just mind-boggling to me. Yes, LA is definitely unaffordable to most people. LA is unaffordable to even the people who live in LA. That's the reason why a large percentage of people in LA have roommates or still live with their parents. Man, I'm getting really choppy. I wonder why I'm not even sharing hardly anything. What's up, Abundance Protocol? Culling of the Herd says, whatever Trump says is null and void. Most jobs are gone. Dollar is worthless in real value. Silver is at $40 plus. Soon will be 300. Let me test my signal. I see that I'm very choppy right now. Let me try stopping my cam for a second. Stop. I'm just turning off my cam for a little bit so I can see if that will help with my signal a little bit. I see as far as my signal here, it was kind of buffering a little. So I think it came back. For anybody in the chat, tell me that if I sound better now, or did I start glitching out at any point? Likes to grab them by the chubby. Oh yeah, I do think that everybody should be looking at, gold, silver, whatever kind of things you can buy to kind of get yourself protected somewhat when the markets eventually crash. I really feel this is the problem of having, and this is like, I remember hearing plenty of people say that they like Trump because he's a businessman, and a businessman needs to run America. And I've always felt that's the worst person I'd ever run in America. Not necessarily Trump in particular, but just a businessman in general. And my reasoning for saying no to a businessman, because a businessman has one thing in mind. A businessman is only thinking about profits. Only thinking about how can I maximize profits for you? And how can I maximize profits for me? I don't really care about what happens to you. Well, the government can't be run that way. And the reason why you can't run the government that way is because there's many of things that have nothing to do with profits. There are many things, fixing the roads and stuff like that. That's something that cost you money. You may not necessarily see the benefit back on it directly. There's many things that go on throughout the government that are not a direct benefit back to you. And business goes out of their way to spend as little as possible just to keep things moving so that we can extract as much wealth as possible. A country should never run that way. If you're running that way, how can you do, for instance, stuff like AIDS research, cancer research? Those things are expensive. And a lot of times you're just putting money out there and it goes for naught. How can you get better technology without just investing in R&D and just spending and spending and spending? There are many times you're going to be spending money as far as a government that does not go towards the bottom line or helping you make money. Sending aid and relief to war-torn areas or drought-stricken or just like Texas recently, natural disasters. Those things do not generate wealth. And a business person is not thinking that way, especially one who's as short-sighted as Trump, who is very, very, very transactional and very, very emotional. Way too emotional, in my opinion, for an adult man. Greg knows what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Let's see. Loneliness. I agree with that statement here. Put that on the screen. That's why it's important to have community. Wow, I might have to click my camera off if it keeps doing this. It looks like I'm glitching up. Apologies if I am. So what I was saying is the tariffs are going to be coming back. And he said that, no, I know you guys said, I know before we did this, we did that and whatever, but mark my words, August 1st. And so I think he'll do that until, he has to say uncle. I think that's how long he's going to do it. I mean, the market is going to tell him this is not tenable. You can't keep doing this. This is going to destroy industries. And I notice even in my job, all of a sudden, all of these things become a rush. This company wants us to hurry up. That company wants us to hurry up. This one wants us to hurry up. Blah, 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 blah. And I think the reason why they're trying to hurry up and get this service, get their services done by us, is because I think they're worried about how their bottom line is going to be affected with tariffs. My company does service for a lot of major companies. And I think these companies, and some of them I even see when I'm having to do certain things and do ordering and stuff like that, that it's saying prices may be affected by tariffs. Some of the companies we deal with that are American companies, they may have some of their plants that may be like in Canada, for instance. So if I need this specific part, I can't get it from the Milwaukee branch, or I can't get it from the Georgia plant. I might have to get it from the California one. I mean, not California, but the Canada one. And that might incur a bunch of extra tariffs and taxes, basically. Because if you think tariff, just think taxes. That's all it is. You're throwing taxes on stuff. Yeah, it's still glitching here. Let me try clicking my camera off. I can see it slow. Fact. I'm just gonna stay off camera for, I'll do that for the remainder of the show and stop fighting with this. I figured that might help, because it takes a little bit more energy to run the mics and cameras and stuff like that. So I'll just click it off. All right, it looks like my signal is better. Is my signal, do I sound a little bit better? Let me know before I keep going. Let's see, like, yeah, give me a 1 or something if I sound better. Now, if I don't sound like I'm glitching out. So I'll hold till I see somebody tell me something. And in the meantime, I'll check my signal. A little bit. I guess I'm still glitching to some degree. Yeah, I'm on Ethernet. Sounds great, not as bad. Great here. I guess that must have cleared it up, whatever I did. Oh, what, clicking off the camera. Oh, I unplugged my camera. So guess I'll just do it audio. Hopefully that fixed the problem. Hopefully the glitching is out. Yeah, in fact, I'll do a speed test also, just to double check, see what's going on with this. But let's see, Trump is not a businessman. He's a sorry and nut job. Next save. Rabbi Shmuley is on his wall in NYC house. Is that for real, Cullen House, that he is? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But I've always just thought that he's tied because of money arrangements and his son-in-law and daughter married into the faith. Better. Okay, good. I'm better. I think I've honestly felt like this Trump is, and this is going from somebody who I used to read Trump's books. I bought probably about 4 or 5 of his books over the years. And I just don't think the guy is intelligent. I honestly, and I know people throw out the whole Russia thing. I believe like he's been held afloat mainly through money laundering. I believe that most of his businesses are held up through the brand, because he accepts money from everywhere. And so when I say that he's propped up by Russians, he may not even know for a fact that Russian mobsters are propping him up. Now, I'm not saying like I believe like the Russian government is propping him up, no, and that there's some kind of compromise situation directly. But I'm saying I do believe like anybody who's trying to wash money is washing it through Trump's hotels and businesses, because he keeps such a low floor of like verification and checking anything. It's like, you know, the wet dream for anybody who wants to clean money, who's on a high scale and who's dealing with a lot of money. I also think he's a deeply incurious person. He doesn't understand how any of this stuff works. I think he just reacts off of emotion more than anything. And, you know, when you're a very emotional person and you have the kind of power he does with no pushback, I think it makes you a very dangerous person. That's funny in imperialism. That's funny. I think it makes him for a very dangerous person. And like, even like how I feel that there's nuance when I brought up conspiracies and stuff like that, I feel there's nuances even on how the powers that be control the system. I don't think they operate in the system of, okay, here's your marching orders. You do this today, you do that today, whatever. I think it's more one of those situations where they allow the administration to operate in a certain degree, and they put in people around them who kind of nudge them in a direction, or they put information in front of them that is going to work out to acceptable compromises that the powerful people behind the scenes. So it's kind of like they're giving them an A, B, and a C. They really, really, really want C, but they'll accept A or B. And that's what I feel like is more going on with most of these presidents. And in general, they're getting the A, B, and C. And most of that's dealing with foreign policy. I don't feel like the major elites care as much about domestic policy, except for their pet projects, be it whatever companies that they own. And so they're going to make sure, okay, that you're going to do this carve out and that carve out from my business on this side. But on the other side of it, when I say that we need to have a certain response in, say, Sudan, in Kenya, you're going to do this. That's the reason why I feel even wedged into that bill, if you really look at it, they're designating Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger as hardship duties. Why the hell would you make that a hardship duty? You only make places where we have bases and that we're going to on a regular basis hardship duties. You wouldn't make a place that's temporary a hardship duty. For instance, for those that don't know what I mean by a hardship duty, perfect example is, because it was in the media not that long ago, the command Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia is a base which is used for launching and staging attacks throughout the Levant or the Middle East. The reason why that's dangerous, well, the reason why it's a hardship duty, first off, is there's a couple of qualifiers that you will find with hardship duties. One, it's a hardship duty because you can't have a lot of family can't come to that command. They can't live there. So for that whole year, you're going to be away from your command completely. So they give you compensation for being away from your family. Two, because the information that you're around is so sensitive and so the classification level is part of why they would keep you so isolated away. And the third reason is because of how dangerous it is. It's a dangerous place that can be hit by an attack at any given time. And I believe that there's a couple of places that are in that area that is hardship duties. You guys are funny. Here, let me drink a little bit of water first. But commands like that, they'll typically pay you extra money, tax-free zones, and like 1 year, for instance, is the equivalent of 2 years of active duty service. because of these inconveniences. So, Marcus, do you think the president is taking orders, but rather they got a psych profile and manipulation of the president? I do, but I believe they only pull that out when they need to, when they need to flex on something where, okay, he's not kind of going with the gentle nudging, the money's not really working, so we need to play hardball. So I do believe that they do have a file. They do have ways of influence. And I believe that they use a whole toolbox full of things to get their objectives done. Do I believe that they care about every single thing? No, not really. Some of this stuff is just anybody with a lot of money in their pocket can get a lot of sway with the government. Perfect example, like a lot of LGBTQ stuff that people saw in Hollywood of recent years. The reason why is you got a whole lot of people in Hollywood who are gay. It's that simple. And so if you have a lot of people in Hollywood who are gay with a lot of money, they have the ability to write the scripts, to decide how they're going to executive produce something and put money into it. And if they decide, I want to see this amount of gay people in your script, if you want to get your project green lit, then you're going to put that amount of gay people in it. And that's where I feel a lot of this stuff is coming heavy handed. When people are talking about the woke agenda, this isn't something that's just coming all the way from the ultra elites at the top who are controlling war and peace and stuff like that. They don't care about that kind of stuff. It's people who are below them, people with maybe not even a ton of money like you think. It might be somebody who's sitting on maybe 100 million, who they basically have pushed their agenda into it. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy over at Star Wars was the one who pushed a whole lot of the stuff which people were upset about, basically saying that she made it woke. I think she made it bad for multiple other reasons than so-called woke. But and I would say a lot of that went into more feminism than anything and lazy screenwriting. It's not that comic book fans and sci-fi fans are sexist or against certain things, but when you feel like something is shoehorned or you're taking a story that doesn't have something in it and you're adding things to it that are obvious and clearly political, you're going to have pushback. Now, if you created your own separate thing that was already just that way, it might be people who will be frustrated with it, but I don't think you get near the pushback. It's when you decide to take a character who has been beloved for certain years and then change them for an obvious political viewpoint is what I think upsets people. And I agree with them for being upset about those things. Now, granted, even within that, there's a market of people online who are using that as grievance culture to appease a whole group of people who are pissed off about seeing that wokeness or whatever. And so they push and sell wokeness to make money and profit off of those people. I don't know. I believe all the way around there, nothing is a straight line. There are a bunch of people who are trying to figure out how that they can make a buck off of this or hustle off of this. And this is the culture that we bred as far as capitalism. Everybody's going to try to make a buck any type of way that they can make a buck. All right. So, the character masterpiece. Yeah, I'm just saying. So I believe, just like I believe Biden probably wasn't running anything the whole 4 years that he was in office. He probably just has enough juice to be able to come out and talk for a half a minute. And the rest of the times he probably got away with body doubles and having his staff put out what he's going to do through the press secretary. What are y'all talking about in there? Oh, Chris H knows exactly what I'm talking about. Critical drinkers and Nerd got called out for not doing a serious review of Sinners. In fact, you could tell that they didn't want to do a review of Sinners. They got called out. I mean, they're grifters. I don't think that they even believe the stuff that they're saying. What? Y'all are cracking me up. Y'all are cracking me up reading the comments. But anyway, the tariff stuff and closing on the tariff stuff, I think tariffs is coming back around, and we'll just see how long they stick around. I don't know if you guys have seen also, Rosie O'Donnell now is at odds with Trump. Trump is literally talking about revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. That goes back to what I was saying about this man is too damn emotional. Actually, I would go even more than saying emotional. This is complete feminine energy. This is like catty and pathetic and childish. It's like, motherfucker, you are the president of the United States. Why are you're acting like one of the Real Housewives of Atlanta or some shit? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got more important shit to worry about than fucking Rosie O'Donnell. But obviously it shows you he probably don't have important shit to do because he's probably not doing any of this stuff. I believe, like, you want to see who's really running the presidency most of the time? Go look at the chief of staff. Go look at the special advisors. Those are the people who are really running everything. Presidents come out there, sign everything, want to do nice press ops, and they want to do pose for the pictures and look good and look pretty. Most presidents don't know shit about shit. So if you don't know, think about it. When's the last president we've had that had military service? So if you don't have military service, then how much do you really know about the military? How much do you really know about wars? How many of them do you know that have a great grasp of anything outside the United States? Grand Rising. It's a lot of them that don't understand any of this stuff. If you look into our presidents, most of our presidents have been businessmen or lawyers. Lawyers know about arguments and lying and manipulation. Most of them don't know about running anything. Yeah, but DARPA has to have an agenda also. Nothing is done without an agenda. DARPA's main reasoning and agenda is so they can get more money for wars. That's what they care about more than anything. Keeping the gravy train of money going. That's what they're focused on. It's the people who are above that who use these avenues for what they're going to use them for. And those are normally global affairs. They're not the ones who actually care about rainwater in your area. The ones who make laws about rainwater and shit like that is somebody who they're getting money from some desalinization company who's worth probably about $50 million. A lot of this stuff is on smaller levels and dealing with contractors. The military doesn't run the U.S. The military does not care about domestic policy. They do not care about domestic policy at all. That's not even what they focus on. Everything the military is doing is focusing on foreign policy. And the National Guard and all that, Army Reserves, most of them are just backup auxiliary to some kind of war effort or maintaining the imperial empire that we have going on worldwide. It's corporations that run America, period. And each one of them is coming to the table and saying, well, it's basically like coming before a king and saying, hey, well, I need to hook up on this and I need to hook up on that. And you can give me a hookup on this. And That's all it is doing favors for business after business after business after business. Hey, I want to. I came up with this idea for cheaper meat. Now, granted, it's lab grown meat. Can I get a waiver so that this doesn't have to go through FDA and it's going to be a whole lot cheaper for my company? Yeah, sure. That's what's going on. I want to take the same drug. I don't want to spend as much money on R&D. I want to take the same drug, add one thinning component to it, then resell it as a whole new drug for more money so that I can make more money for my shareholders. Can we do that? Yeah, sure. We'll stamp that in the bill. That's what's running America. It's pay for play. It's, transactional businesses. It's, I'll go in here and make sure that we put oil subsidies in here so that you guys can drill all over the place. And I'll make sure for big coal, we'll set it up for some new coal mines that you guys can, kick up, and then people can get black lung. That's how all this stuff really works. I'd agree with you, Colin of the Mind. I think this is all about how they can make a profit for themselves. If you are not owning a business that is bringing in, I would say anywhere to like 50 million or more, your concerns don't matter to them. Not at all. Even when you hear like, oh, well, they're worried about, endangered quails that live in Oregon. That's because some other millionaire or billionaire has set up some other project where this is the area they watch one video and now they care about this issue. And so they've created some whole new program so that they can make money off of pretending to help the endangered geese of North America or some shit. That's basically what's going on. Okay, so talked about tariffs. We talked about Texas flooding. Okay, I don't know if y'all have seen. Actually, that's what I'll do. Since you guys can hear my audio, I'll just pull this up on my phone about the Epstein documentary. Oh yeah, before that, about ICE. Let me go into ICE first. I don't know if you guys have heard any of the stuff that Tom Homan has been saying, but Tom Homan for ICE has been saying, so I'm just telling you, it's about to get very, very rough and interesting for people. Oh, that's, I don't play the whole speech. Let me see if I can find a short. Okay. So, here, listen to this real quick.
Start with that ruling. The judge ordered the administration to stop making indiscriminate immigration arrests in the Los Angeles area and denying detainees right to legal counsel. She wrote that, quote, roving patrols without reasonable suspicion violate the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and denying access to lawyers violates the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Will the administration comply with this order?
If we're going to litigate that order, I think the order's wrong. I mean, she's assuming that the officers don't have reasonable suspicion. They don't need probable cause to briefly detain and question somebody. They just need reasonable suspicion, and that's based on many articulable facts. So unless she's in the officer's mind, I don't know how she make that, decision that, well, they're not using reasonable suspicion. How does she know that? I mean, every officer has to, bring articulable facts to raise reasonable suspicion, and then they can briefly detain. I don't know how she knows that, but I don't think any federal judge can dictate immigration policy. That's a matter for Congress and for the president, and I know the Department of Justice is going to litigate this. We're going to take it to the appeals court.
This just man said we'll take it to the appeals court, but at the same time, I don't think any judge should be able to litigate this. Sometimes when I hear some of these people talk, I'm like, wow. Did you just not hear what you just said out of your own mouth? I also watched another video with this dude where he just basically said that, yes, One of the criterias they can stop you on is how you look. So I guess be careful out there, people, because they have guidance. And here's the thing: just like a police officer, they don't need probable cause. They can just look at you and, in their head, just decide, you know what? I think that person's suspicious. Let me go detain them. And I get that when you're near the border. But now we're taking the guidelines of how they operate near the border, and they're able to operate differently outside, because they're not supposed to be able to do that away from the border. It's some law that I remember reading where they have to be within a certain amount of miles of the border. Now he's stretching that to be able to do it wherever the hell they feel like it. I tell you, this man Tom Homan he's probably going to get himself, after Trump is out of power, if there's not another Republican goes in power, this man will probably go to jail. Because he is wildly, flagrantly breaking laws and encouraging his people to wildly, flagrantly break the law. He talked about that he didn't say directly what he's telling his people to do, because they talked about how people are reacting towards ICE agents. And this is one thing which I talked about protest earlier, how I talked about staying on brand. Chris H, 100 miles of the contiguous U.S., ICE can mess with you. Yeah, outside of 100 miles, though. And he's going well outside of 100 miles to do some of this stuff. I mean, in fact, I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure even LA is more than 100 miles from the border. I'm pretty sure. Let me look for a fact. To Mexico. No. I don't know why it always gives me flight. I'm not looking for flight. Yeah. Not southern. Yeah, it's definitely more than 100. It's definitely more than 100 miles. I want to say, hell, Los Angeles to San Diego is probably close to 100 miles. I could be wrong. Los Angeles to San Diego. If I could type right. So yeah, that's Los Angeles to San Diego is 120 miles apart. San Diego to like, I want to say San Diego to Tijuana is probably like what, maybe 50 miles. I don't know. I'm throwing this out off the top of my head, so I could be wrong. And if anybody knows to correct me, going ahead. To yeah, distance. Let's see. So okay, so 17 miles. So basically, we're talking about LA to Mexico it's probably what, closer to 200 miles away. And so he's treating Mexico, I mean, he's treating LA as if it's right on the border. And he's applying that as far away even to, now, I guess, even if you say New York City, which he was doing that in New York City also, the way that ICE is doing some of these things. New York City to Canada, I believe, is hundreds of miles from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be away from another border. So yeah, that's 500 miles. New York City is 500 miles from Canada. Let's see, because they're doing it in Chicago also. Chicago, so none of these major cities he's operating in are close to 100 miles of the border. But yet he's treating the policies of being on the border the same. That's the reason why I say you got to watch people like this. I think he's operating from a hateful place on the inside. And I think maybe he's just been conditioned from being a border officer for all those years. And he's built up a certain like vitriol towards, anybody crossing the border. And I think it's turned into something nasty inside of him. And so he wants to inflict harm. And back to what I was saying about the protesters, you got to stay on brand. And even if they are taking people away, there's not much you could do to stop that. Legally, it's not much for you can do to stop that. Even once they put a person in the car and they've decided that they're taking this person away as a detention, at that point now you are actually committing a crime. To get in their way, to block the cars, all of that is obstruction of justice, and you could face charges for that. Now, that's up to you if you decide that that's the route that you want to go. But legally, you don't have a ground to stand on, and there's not much legally that can be done to stop them from doing these tactics that they're doing. I would also say that probably the reason why a lot of them keep their faces covered because they're not actually they're not officially ICE agents. I bet a lot of these people are contractors and bounty hunters, and they probably plan to go back to their private practice and business after this. And the negativity that'll come to them from doing this will probably be pretty nasty. Let me see. I think we're getting closer to. I think Steve is probably gonna switch us over soon. So just letting you guys know that the people who are on the Rumble side might be switching soon. Which I don't have a whole lot more. Still on Odyssey for as long as you keep going. Okay, we're still up on Odyssey. So appreciate it, Steve, and have a good show, brother. What is my plan? Stay with your grandpa. I don't have a plan for people. I really don't. I think we're facing some crazy times. And I honestly feel like, you know what? He might even be doing you a favor to some degree. If you have a place that you can go that is better than, because I see problems down the road for America, and we might not see it in the next 6 months, next year. But I definitely say before the end of this Trump administration, we are going to see a lot of things happen. And it's going to be a lot of things that I think a lot of people are not expecting that are going to happen. Oh, let me put this on the screen. Oh, so some ICE agents are, let me do this first. So some ICE agents are quitting because the backlash is already coming for them. Oh, I can imagine some will. Even in my feed, some of the money from that bill, from Trump's bill, is already being manifested. I saw this sponsored message in my feed, and I'm not talking about like in my Google feed. Said U.S. Border Patrol is hiring. USBP offers a competitive salary and benefits, tuition assistance. Says join our team, earn up to $30,000 in recruitment incentives. So for people saying, "Oh, they're not going to be able to hire all these people that fast," I guarantee you, they're going to be able to get these numbers up. And for all those people who was like, "Oh, well, you know, he's just going after the bad ones." You got to remember, in the mindset of a lot of these people who are anti-immigration, the fact that you came over here, crossing the border illegally, for them that's enough. It don't matter if you've been here for 40 years, you've been paying taxes, you haven't caused a single problem, they don't care. The fact that you came in here undocumented in the first place, it's all they care about. Now, I believe that if they are able to do it to the level that they want to do it, they're going to hurt themselves. But we're dealing with a group of people who they have it in their head that this is the pain that's going to come from it is worth it, because they believe like this existential threat is upon them. They've been pumped into their head that this is an invasion and this is dangerous and they're coming to do this and crime and fentanyl and blah, 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 blah. They've been fed so much BS. And so they believe it with 100% of surety. And so even no matter how this twists and turns and it starts to affect them negatively, it's going to be a whole lot of, it's going to be a whole lot of them who hold out and still continue to move on through this, despite that they're harming themselves. Natives are telling each other to carry a state and tribal ID, as a few hundred have been detained by ICE as they are profiling indigenous skin tones and phenotype. Mexicans and natives look similar. Yes. That's something that we need to look out for. So it doesn't matter if you cross the border illegally or if you just look like you can pass for Hispanic or Latino, you're going to be grouped in. Migrants aren't the problem. The problem is CIA, etc. CIA is the biggest funders of the cartels, human trafficking, and terrorist organization. I agree. I mean, well, one of the biggest problems also is we have to go back to World War II when the IMF was created. For people who are not familiar with that history, what ended up happening? Oh, let me read this other one real quick that Thomas said. So Black Americans will be profiled by ICE, as ICE might think they're Haitian immigrants. No, brown and Black folks are immune to being harassed by ICE. Exactly. We're all going to be in the bullseye pretty soon. Well, if you're Black or brown. They're all going to be, bullseye. And I think that this goes into, and I'm just going to say it because I heard Tucker going after Trump before saying, oh, if people say that I'm racist, bitch, you're racist. You are. I don't even know why you try to pretend like you're not. Many of these racists hold white supremacy ideology in their head, whether they realize it or not. And it's probably even more scary when they don't realize it, because they automatically just think of people in a negative connotation unfairly and don't even realize it because it's from this propaganda. But anyway, a lot of people are going to have to really watch their backs because it's going to get sketchy. And I believe Trump let the cat out of the bag when he talked about Stephen Miller. He said if Stephen Miller had the power, this whole country will look just like him. And there are many people in ICE, there are many people in MAGA. Now, I know there are going to always be people in MAGA who that's not us. All of us are not like that. I'm not saying all of you like that. It don't have to be all of you. If you take 100 million people and 10% think that way, that's 10 million people. That's a lot of people who can, be harmful and negative. And out of that 10 million, what power do they have? Are some of these people judges? Are some of these people running corporations? Are some of them billionaires? That matters. So it don't have to be all. All it has to be is enough, and enough with power to do something about it. And there are plenty in MAGA who are white supremacists and who have the money and now the means and the avenue through the Trump administration to do a lot of horrendous shit. And the Tom Homans and the Stephen Millers, remember the people who were talking about, white replacement theory, Tucker Carlson included? There's a certain America that these people long for, and it is not an America where we're all kumbaya. I tell you that. Yeah, not only does he look mean, he is mean. He's a hateful little racist Jewish guy. That's what he is. And if you even hear some of the videos of him when he was like a high school kid, he was hateful like that too, even back then. He couldn't stand how many Hispanics it was all over California. He couldn't stand all the Asians in California. So that's who Stephen Miller is. This dude is a virulent racist and has been since he's probably hopped on the scene. And now he's finally got the avenue to do all the racist shit he's always wanted to do. Now with a massive budget to do it also. So again, MAGA, it doesn't matter if 95% of you guys don't agree with this. The 95% who don't agree empowered the 5% who want to and who plan to. And that's a fact. I think they won't go after in bulk, but there will be some that get swept up in there, Monique. Some will get swept up in there. Because it's going to be some of the ICE agents who got a beef towards some of them. There's an ICE agent right now who is in trouble because of him beating the hell out of a Asian police officer. And so that ICE agent just got charges in, I believe, like the Bay Area. Like he beat the hell out of the cop and then like suplexed him on the concrete outside of like Sam's Club. Now, is the hate more directed at black and brown? Yes. But are some of them going to get wrapped up in there? Yeah. And when I say Asians, I'm not just talking about the Chinese or Koreans or whatever. I'm throwing in Indians and stuff like that too. And there's a lot of Trumpers who believe that all we need is to get these people out of here and then we'll get the good jobs again. It's like, you guys don't know what's going on, do you? You guys really still don't get it. I get it. That's why a lot of you guys are still at the bottom, because you don't get it. You're not that fucking bright. But anyway, that said, on to the whole MAGA splits. So, as you guys know, Trump has basically said that Epstein, who's Epstein? Why were we talking about Epstein? Who the hell is that? I don't know who that is. I mean, the guy's dead, move on. But that is not ringing, that's not enough for a lot of people that I'm hearing through MAGA. Let me see if I can find that video of what's her name? Laura Ingraham at CPAC. So let's see if I can find this video. She just made a video. Oh, here it is.
How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
So that's CPAC. At CPAC, they are ticked right now about what's going on. And a lot of them are pissed off that Trump is not, Trump is basically trying to sweep this all under the rug, trying to pretend nothing's going on. I was hearing all week about, is it possible Kash Patel might step down? Is it possible Dan Bongino might step down? And then people delete, like Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck tweet that out, and then now it's gone all of a sudden. So we'll see. I mean, you know how Trump can be. Even though in the media he stepped up for Pam Bondi, that hour that's missing from the tape could have, they figured that they put out something that would shut people up. And the fact that people are still upset about it, somebody got to deal with this. And somebody's going to be, somebody got to be the patsy. So I wouldn't be surprised if that anger gets put towards Kash Patel and Dan Bongino first. And we see them getting, pushed up out of here. And then very possible later that if this still persists on, now it's going to be Pam Bondi's turn to get up out of here. So we all know what it is, though. They claim it's no list. And the reason why they claim it's no list is because they already know Trump is on it. I've even heard some people say that they believe that that Mossad has already erased everything. So they actually they actually don't have a list anymore. I don't know. It's just interesting. Glenn Beck took like a couple of years where he was decent on stuff and then turned right back into the Glenn Beck of the past. Especially once this neocon war stuff got ginned up, he jumped right back on the bandwagon with no questioning, the same way he did, when the whole Afghanistan, Iraq stuff was going on. This is just who these people are. They're paid to be shills, and they're going to do it, and they do it well. Well, they don't do it well, but they're happy to do it. I'll just say that. And speaking of people who are no longer with the Trump administration, after Elon's little tweaks to Gronk, that basically said that, basically did a little Hitler praise. Linda Yaccarino is out as CEO of X. So I don't know. It's just interesting things going all the way around. Interesting things. I imagine that probably by next, let's see, what's the date? So 13th, we got about, let's see, a little over 2 weeks before it gets pretty crazy, especially with this tariff stuff. Got the feeling we're going to be seeing all kinds of stuff going on with that. But yeah, that's all I got. I typically wanted to share a couple of videos with you guys and go over that and throw in a little fun one at the end, but having a little bit of trouble with the signal. So I'm glad that I was just able to get out most of the information I need to talk about. Hey, Emmanuel's in the building. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Shout out to you. Shout out to the fam also. Atrez, he still graces with his appearances. Sundays, I'm usually out and about, but I'm glad you were able to swing by and say what's up. And to everybody else who was in the chat, much love to all of y'all, whether you're watching on here or whether you're watching on the on Rumble or whether you're watching on which show is it? I can't remember. Whether you're, what am I thinking? Odyssey, or whether you're watching on Odyssey. Oh yeah, I guess it's one thing that I'll say in closing. One thing that I'll definitely say in closing. I'm glad to see you back, Cookies. I was on TikTok, and I've been seeing something. I was gonna hop in there and comment on it. I thought about doing a video on it, but I figured, man, I'll just do this on my own channel and go from there. I'm seeing a whole lot of granted, I live in California, but I feel like the Hispanic community in California is so hyper focused on California that I think they let it cloud their vision in overall things that are going on in other places, especially in regards to Black and brown relations. I did hear people in the room I was listening to where they're trying to show that, hey, we're going through a lot of the same things. We're going through a similar struggle. So, maybe we can try to work on compassion and not be at each other's throats and things like that. And it was brought up multiple times about how a lot of the stuff on the West Coast is mostly dealing with the streets and beefs through the prison system. And I agree with that. I think that's true. But we got to keep in mind, every place is not the same, and there's different beefs and stuff that are going on. with other groups. I find that there's, I think, for instance, in New York, everybody kind of says F everybody to a degree. Each other group kind of stays, in their own bubbles. And to a degree, they mess with people. To a degree, they don't. And I feel like everybody, you can find somebody who's an ultra racist in every group within New York society. And you can find that also in South Florida, which coincidentally, a lot of South Florida is full of former New Yorkers and former people from the Northeast, and which bring their mentality down. I say that to say that's what I also noticed in the Midwest. Growing up in the Midwest, I didn't never grow up seeing black and brown division to the levels I see now. And most of that has come because of people some out of Texas, but mainly coming out of California. And it's like, yo, you guys got to stop bringing your prison gang street shit to everybody and making everybody have to be involved in your bullshit. Many of us know this system is crushing us all and coming after us all. And I get so tired of watching these people try to rank what was done to them is, well, I heard one dude in the group say, well, we've been going through this long before, blacks were going through this. And so, another dude was like, well, if they had a place that they could deport us to, they would be doing that. They wouldn't even be messing with you. My question is, who is the one deporting who? Who is the one who enslaved who? Who is the one? If you start looking at it, it's the same problem is the same problem. But how these people do not see that you're all dealing with the same oppressor is they're just doing it in different ways at different time periods. It's all been the same struggle. And got to get away from people online that get into these echo chambers or, oh, I heard 5 black guys over here say this about, about Mexicans or whatever. And so now I'm going to be pissed off at the whole, 40 million black people in this country. Oh, I heard this one Mexican say this about black people. Oh, they're with the blacks. So now I'm going to be mad at all Mexicans. Yes. Yes, natives sold out natives, Africans sold rival tribes also. Some natives even sold Africans. But also some white people sold white people. Exactly. None of us are clean. And also from my belief system in general, I know everybody doesn't believe what I believe, but if you are within the Hebrew Israelite belief system, the reason why these things are happening to us and have happened to us, and that goes for black and browns and natives, I know everybody doesn't agree. But the reason why these things are happening to us because of the sins that we have done. So therefore, the sins that we have done have brought upon these consequences upon us. So therefore, we can be upset with the person doing it to us. Just like that's like you committing a crime and you're upset with the cop that arrests you. You're upset with the legal system that convicts you. You're upset with the judicial system that sentences you. Without getting upset with yourself who puts you in the situation. And so I just want more of us to look at the self-reflection of what we have done, what we are doing, and how we can contribute to improving this situation. Or if we want to wallow in the situation and keep just pointing fingers. It's like a team where everybody's screwing up. Yo, own what you do and let's move past it. Don't only point out the dude who kept having turnovers. Yeah, you kept missing free throws. What about you? Own our own shit, be adults, be mature, and move on. Oh, I've never been to jail. Well, never been to like prison or anything for real. I mean, Poverty puts us in this situation, and the Holy Bible says the sins of the father will fall upon the son. I agree. Yes, poverty put us in this situation, but how do we get into poverty? Now, and especially you, Yonina, because I know you identify as a Hebrew Israelite. Does it not say that the Israelites were wicked? So if the Israelites were wicked, and it said that certain things were going to happen if you were wicked, what did it say in the blessings and cursings in Deuteronomy 28? If you follow these 14 blessings or so, you will be blessed. And then what does Deuteronomy 28 and 15 tell you? If you don't, what will happen? And there's a whole probably 55, 56 verses or whatever telling you about all the negative consequences that are going to happen for not listening, not doing what you were supposed to. And all of these things we are in now are a byproduct of them. So I'm just going to leave that on you, Yonina, because you know that. So we can't just talk about poverty while we're in poverty. You can't talk about crabs in the barrel mentality, but not talk about who put you in the crabs. I mean, who put the crabs in the barrel? It's all right, bad cookies. If you don't know what I'm referring to, it's referring to in Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and the curses. And the blessings and the curses said, if the Israelites do these certain amount of things, they will be blessed. And they will be blessed exceedingly. If they don't do these things, they're going to get all these punishments. It's the same as if your parents walk into the room and they say, yo, got a proposition for you. You make sure you do all your homework. You keep your grades up. I don't hear any problems with that. You come home, you do your homework, you clean your room. You do all those things, and I'm going to buy you a new PlayStation, whatever, PlayStation 5, buy you all the games, and give you some allowance money. And then Saturday, we're going out to Dave and Buster's, Disneyland, Disney World, whatever. I'm going to hook you up with all this. We're going to do all that. What restaurant you want to go to? We're going to that too. But when you don't do this, belt is coming for ass. It's that simple. And it's just that simple. You do what you're supposed to do, you will be fine. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you can't be upset when the belt comes for the ass. And so for the secular people, I'll put it this way. I heard somebody talking about one of the Latino brothers in there was talking about one of his greatest like role models he looked up to were mostly black leaders. It's like, yeah, it would have been good, if we would have still been able to hold up our black leaders and stuff like that. And the problem is after people like Huey were gone and Fred Hampton were gone and the movement wasn't able to be kept up. Granted, COINTELPRO came in, drugs were flooded into the community, and there was a concerted effort to destroy it, like not only cut the grass, we're going to burn it down to the roots. We are going to take away, because see, they learned, we take this leader out, we take that leader out, we take this leader out, another one just keep popping up. So now we need to find a way to destabilize this whole community so more leaders can't be risen up. Well, we might not have had the leaders in our day. We might not have been like the future generations who always had somebody who was stepping up and being a leader. But it's up for us to decide to lead ourselves. It's up to us to find a way out of this and stop falling into the pitfalls and traps of the people who are your enemies, who smile in your face while getting you to point the finger at your own brother and sister and keep fighting them. That is the problem. So I'll leave y'all with that little bit. So I'm making a controversial segment. Read the Bible and Quran. I am free from following. Yeah, everything you take. Like I listen to people who I do not agree with all the time. And I feel like just because I listen to those people don't mean I take in all their philosophies. I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if y'all know the channel, The Saint, or he calls it The Saint and the Sinner. Marquette Burton. I listened to him. I disagree with plenty of things he says, but at the same time, he is highly intelligent, articulate, um, and has done great things in a business sense. That yeah, he's worthy of listening to. Now, do I need to take in all of the stuff he says? Hell no. I don't do that with anybody. I didn't do that with even Hebrew Israelite camp leaders who I would listen to and learn from when I was first getting into the faith. I didn't take everything they said because I was finding certain things which I was like, oh, that's a contradiction there. That's why it says for you to read it yourself. And then just to see for years later, some of the things which I saw as contradictions are being incorrect or that they were acting in an improper way for them to turn from those ways. So it's all about each of us doing our own analysis and deep dives and deciding our pathway and our purpose and how we are going to navigate things. So that's what I will say there. Yes. Yeah, you can shoot me a message. We could talk, definitely. Oh yeah, Yonita, since I have you on here, I will respond because I was thinking about should I do a video to what old boy's saying or not. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, on TikTok there was a video that Yonina was responding back and forth to, and it was a Black American who was going into the atrocities that happened during the transatlantic slave trade, and then he made the statement there were 100 times worse than what happened to Black Americans in the Americas. He said some things that were wildly incorrect in there, and what I basically was saying to Yonina kind of loosely is I was like, people are going to be out there saying stuff and they're not always correct. Is there some truth in some of the stuff he's saying? Yes. Is there plenty of things he's saying wrong in some of the stuff? Yes. It would be easier for me to just do a video on when somebody has a whole lot of things in there where they threw a lot out there and it's not easy to just dispute it in a comment. But some of the things he said in there that I saw that were incorrect. He talked about how they've been dealing with slavery. The transatlantic slave trade started in the 1500s, and so Central America and South America and the Caribbean, Black people in America, they had to start out from those points first. There is some truth to that, but the thing about it is they weren't already bringing over slaves from Africa in the 1500s, not early 1500s. The slave trading that was going on in those areas was happening with the Taínos. That's who was mostly being affected. Taínos were being affected. The Aztecs, the Mayans, many of the Mesoamerican communities were being affected first, and then it moved to First Nations peoples and people throughout the rest of the Americas, the native population, or say indigenous populations. It happened with them first. As there became more uprisings and pushbacks and fights, and even when they were conquered, runaways and escapes and revolts and all that, they figured it would be easier, especially since we are through disease. They were killing off major portions of the indigenous population. Also, many of the Taínos, they were taking some of them and transporting them into Spain and into Portugal to use directly as slaves over there. So you had all of that going on, along with sometimes working them to death or beating them to death in those areas. And then eventually that's what led them to start implementing the policy of bringing more and more slaves out of Africa. And that started with certain tribes which were already trading with the Portuguese and Spaniards. They basically hired them, and what they would do is they would round up rival trade members. You know what I Saul, thanks for the correction. Correction, Marcus. Aztecs is a name Europeans gave the Mexicas or Mexicas. Is that? Yeah, I think it's Mexicas. The name of Mako today. Yes, correct. It's just so easy. It rolls off the tongue when you mention those. Yeah, I know that's not the proper term. But it started with that same brutality that happened throughout South America, the Caribbean, into, till it eventually engulfed all of North America from the northernmost tip all the way to the southernmost tip. As it got harder and harder, and the race, the European race got set, and more European countries got involved in it, what eventually started to happen is they started to bring over, through the Portuguese first bringing, because they came with the idea, if we are able to use slaves that are not familiar with this land, it makes it harder for them to escape. And also, if they're in certain numbers, we're able to control them better. Whereas if we keep enslaving these people in the lands they're already familiar with, they're going to be able to constantly fight back against us with guerrilla warfare and guerrilla tactics. And so that is what they did also with, disease running rampant, and just them just killing a lot of people, period. So when they started to bring in a lot of the slaves of African descent, they brought them first into South America, and then eventually started to bringing in into the Caribbean, and then lastly started bringing them into the Americas, and that's where you start seeing into the 1600s where you started bringing them in. Whereas for probably about maybe, I'll say and even at the same time period when they started bringing in African slaves, they still were enslaving indigenous population at the same time. It started to decrease over time, but throughout slavery, there were always still indigenous people who were still enslaved right next to slaves of African descent. And when they did the slave trading, it wasn't like the whole continent got enslaved and brought to America. There were certain tribes within certain nations, and basically, it's probably about maybe six modern African countries where 90% of the slaves came from, like 6 areas, and those specific tribes within these 6 countries, and that's like Mali, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Cameroon, and one other place I'm kind of blanking on, but these were like the main hotbeds of where everything was coming from, mostly the Gold Coast and Ivory Coast, and a little bit more inland into there. And the reason why I say it's the Spaniards, how they did their slavery is the same. Spaniards were just brutal in general. So they were brutal on the indigenous population. They were brutal on the African slaves that they brought in. But in certain pockets in the Americas, they eased up the handle. I mean, they literally were doing crucifixions upside down. They were doing like pretty messed up stuff. I mean, you could read in the journals about how, Christopher Columbus, or not Christopher Columbus, but Hernan Cortez talked about how he didn't want to stop until he just kept swinging his sword, and he was happy to keep mowing people down. So there's all kind of tales in there about that, about how brutal that they were. I mean, they even talk about how the Tainos were so nice of a people that they were offering them rubies and gold and all that for free, just as soon as they came on as gifts and offerings, and how they were thinking at the same time where they're getting all these free gifts, how can we dominate and enslave these people? But anyway, the French were more brutal in their colonies and stuff, far as in Haiti and other places throughout, because they did have a couple of different places throughout the Caribbean, but in like New Orleans, they were at first, and then with some of the stuff that was going on with the war, they eased up a little bit, and even towards the end, you had interracial marriages that were going on. They were sending people from the plantations all the way over to Paris for college and running business. So even though some of them were slaves, they more operated more like indentured servants. But right next to them from New Orleans, they go into Mississippi, and it was some of the most brutal, harsh slavery that you can meet. The difference with the Americas versus going into Central and South America is specifically as far as people of African descent was, as far as American plantations, it was, for lack of a better phrase, like a box of chocolates. You go to one plantation and it was the equivalent of indentured servitude, whereas you go to another one and it was just the most horrendous, appalling stuff you can ever imagine, like literally eating them, like all kind of torture, brutal treatment. And so that's the reason I'm like, this competition of, well, did Black people in the Caribbean, or whereas the FBAs try to push their narrative, or in the Americas, which was worse? It's hard to say, because depending on the plantation, you might be on a plantation and yes, you're enslaved and you're in horrible conditions in general, but you might be getting fed well. You might have a plantation owner who his mindset was like, well, I'm not going to beat on my slaves as rough because I still need them to get out of there and make me money. Whereas other ones like, I don't give a damn about that. I'm gonna beat the hell out of them, and they still better get the hell up and do what I tell them. So it was different levels to all the stuff that was going on. You had certain ones who were using them as gator bait. You had other ones who were yanking the teeth out to make dentures. You had other ones, they were experimenting for like gynecological practices. So you can't go into a dollar for dollar, like which one was worse, because it was horrific either way you look at it. And I don't know, I guess something bothered me about the whole fact of we all were treated like crap, unfairly, horribly. So why try to degrade either struggle? Why degrade any struggle? That's where I have a problem with it. The same way I have with FBAs who are like, I don't care about what's happening over there in Palestine. They didn't go through what we went through. And I'm like, I'm tired of that mentality. Any of us who are being oppressed by the colonial empire need to bond together and look at the colonial empire as the problem, and stop trying to rank ourselves among who is more worthy and deserving of care because of how each one was treated. We all got treated horrible. We all got a bad, screwed up deal. And that's like a conversation I was having a while back ago with Thomas's cousin, where he was taking me, I felt in the wrong way. And that's the reason why when you're typing through messages, I don't like that as much as being able to actually talk, because I think people don't get the full gist of what you're saying. And sometimes when you type something, it comes across wrongly. What I was asking him is, what, because Hebrew Israelites, we attest to, we know why we're getting treated the way we are. We sinned against our God. Our God decided to punish us, and there is a process that's going on. And I asked him, as far as some of his beliefs, why did his gods, if he doesn't believe in mine, why did his gods, tribal gods, decide to allow the atrocities happen that they happen from the colonial powers? And why are they not? Is there a plan for you to get out of that? Like, explain that process to me. And so he took that as kind of me he took that as, and I felt like he took me wrongly, like I was trying to insult him or insult, his beliefs. But hey, things go how they go. But, shout out to Mike. Hopefully he's doing all right. Hopefully he's doing well. I didn't want him to get that misunderstanding. And I know I kind of went on a tangent in a bunch of different directions, but that's just some of the stuff that's been on my mind. Had the exact same debate with an FBA dude on Palestine. I think Black people are feeling that there is no appreciation of their experience. and there isn't, and that is sad. Well, here's the problem. Yes, the FBA experience is important, but when you have somebody who is literally over here being bombed out and being just, you know, like literally right now, right in our face, that I'm sorry, right now for me, that takes a little bit more precedent for past grievances. I'm not saying that we ignore those, but I'm saying, yo, let's put out a fire right here first, and then let's assess the fire that's been going on over there. Question, Marcus, do you believe a benevolent God? No, I don't. God even tells you in the Bible that I'm a terror. I'm a great and horrible terror. He lets you know that. That's the reason why, if I believe in God, I can't sit there and take the perspective of, well, God said he's going to do this, so I'm not going to I'm not going to serve a God. It's like, I don't feel like I have there's no choice in it. If you believe in God, if you believe there's a God, and how do you choose that? Yeah, I'm going to fight against the who created me. No, you don't have the power to. What I do believe is there are reasons, there are processes, there are reasons why things are happening. People will say, well, why would God do this and this and this? Well, it depends on your understanding of what God is and why God is doing what God is doing. I believe in regeneration. The church doesn't. And the Bible talks on it. So it tells you that the judgment is done on earth. So if you go up to the Father, you did a whole bunch of horrible stuff in your past life. When you die, you go up there, you get the judgment, you come back down, and you live through those judgments. And so some of the people who are going through horrible things, sometimes it's something they did, sometimes it's something their fathers before them did. It's not a simple, complex thing. Sometimes the person didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes it is for a lesson to teach something else. So it's not as simple as I feel the Christian church does. And I think that's why they run into roadblocks trying to explain certain things, why certain horrific things have happened. But that's all I'll say. Let's see, you said Romans 1 and you have a question. What do you mean? You mean reincarnation, not regeneration? No, I mean regeneration. Reincarnation is coming back as like anything. Like I could come back as a woman or a dog or a butterfly, or I believe in regeneration, meaning you come back within your same family line. You come back as a man. If you're a man, you come back as a woman. If you're a woman, you come back within the loins of your family generation, just generations later. And so therefore, when people are like, man, he's a whole lot like his grandfather, man, I swear, man, he reminds me so much of this person. Yes, because I believe that spirit in essence comes back. And once that spirit comes back, that's what, and so that's the reason why when we get older, we start losing our memory and start getting, because it's starting to be cleared out for that process for you to go before the Father, all things be revealed, and then to start back over and to try to learn from those mistakes and try to improve from those mistakes and try to do whatever your purpose was while you were here, if you did it or not. Heavens will burn with a fervent heat in scripture. Well, I mean, I think we're getting closer to eschatological, things, and so I think we'll see some stuff sooner than later. I'll say that much. I mean, here's another thing with the regeneration. Am I the only person who's been places that they've never been before? And like, man, I swear I've been here. Why do I remember this? Why does this feel like deja vu? Why is it this person that I don't know that I feel like I know so well? I think it's a reason. Exactly. So I think what it is because of many of our understandings and experiences in the Christian church have just put such a negative, left us with such a negative, unfulfilling, feeling. And sometimes just a negative, just a bad taste in our mouth that many of us like, here, I'm gonna throw that whole book away. I don't want to hear anything about it. Get that crap away from me. Or this was used to enslave and conquer my people, whether that be black or brown. Because many natives feel like, you know what? How could y'all dare look at that book that was used as a weapon against us? And each different group could all say the same. All experience the same thing. The Bible was used as a weapon against the indigenous population, towards the Latino population, and towards the black community here. We all went through the same thing. We all had our lands taken. We were all thrown into captivity. We all had, I mean, now granted, the natives to a degree have been able to hold on to some of their previous their previous language and some of the customs they had before, but most have had it stripped away. That's the reason why it always cracks me up when I see somebody who's Latino who's like so disgusted by another Latino who doesn't speak Spanish. It's like, that's not even your language. You're getting mad because they don't speak the enslaver's language? Like, what? Hey, I'll be happy to set up a Rumble one of these times, and then you do your DJ set. That'll be pretty cool. I'll have to set that up with Steve, though. Like somebody, I think it was Bad Cookies that were talking about Catholicism. I'm like, Catholicism, in my opinion, is the #1 way to make somebody an atheist. Because Catholics don't read the damn Bible. And when they do, they see so many contradictions with the way the Catholic Church moves. It's mind-boggling. Oh, you're learning the ancient tongue, huh? That's dope, Saul. I would love to learn it also. I've been watching a lot of stuff about what was it? This, I can't remember her name, but she was trying to bring back. She was trying to reconstitute the Taino tribes and trying to work on bringing back the heritage and customs and trying to get more people of Taino descent to think about coming back to the villages that were being set up. And I thought it was dope. It was dope. She was doing that in I can't remember which part. Well, first I think she was doing it first, and I think in the DR. She might have been in the DR, and then I can't remember where it was in NPR. But yeah, she was working on both. So I don't know, it's pretty dope. But yeah, I've hit my 3-hour mark. I think I can kind of wind this down. Catholics implemented the most horrific hate on mankind, indeed. And they used it with the Bible, the papal bulls, and all that, saying God gave them a decree to do these things, which is just the most disgusting ever. Oh, trust, they're going to get it the worst when all is said and done. But again, much love to all y'all who came through, whether you're here for 5 minutes, whether you're here the whole time, whether you're here late, or whether you're here watching this, in review, or watching this, tomorrow. If you're hearing my voice right now, much love and appreciation to you. Blessings to you. I pray for you all. Hopefully everybody has a great week. And, make sure to lean on each other in these trying times and look at, this is a community of us together, not against each other. And hopefully we can get past the minor differences that we have and build something special. And I guess that's said. This has been the Political Matrix. I am your host, Marcus Young Morpheus Cage, and I'm so glad to have you guys all with me. And until next time, you guys be good.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps us remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can.